We're here at the One-to-One Mining Investment Conference in Cape Town. Now, for those who haven't heard the Sandfire Resources story yet, could you give us a brief introduction?
Yeah, sure. Sandfire is an Australian listed base metals mining company. It's been in existence for about 25 years, about 10 years as a private entity that myself and two other gentlemen founded. And then about 15 years ago, we listed it on the Australian Stock Exchange. It is an aggressive exploration company. And then about 10 years ago, it made a wonderful discovery in Western Australia, a copper gold discovery, now named the DeGrussa mine. And since that time, we've discovered two mines, DeGrussa and the Monty mine, and both are in production at the moment. And we've been able to develop this company from a small junior, develop the resources, and now into a mid-tier mining company with a market capitalisation of about $1 billion Australian, and producing 70 to 75,000 tonnes of copper production a year, 40,000 ounces of gold, and off the back of that base and some very strong performance, we're looking further afield in terms of other development opportunities across the globe in that base metal space.
And you've acquired Mod Resources. How's that going?
Fantastic. It's been like all of these things. It took some time to convince the parties that it made sense. But when I look at Mod Resources, another ASX listed company, and a whole bunch of key people in that organisation that we've known for a very, very long time, many decades, from the same place in Perth, Western Australia. And they've done a wonderful job of being able to accumulate a significant ground holding in Botswana, in the Kalahari copper belt, probably controlling somewhere in the order of 2/3 of that copper belt. And as Mod was developing as an organisation, it was quite clear that they were requiring further capital to develop. In a market that is somewhat difficult or challenging and going a little bit sideways in the base metal space over the last few years, from Sandfire perspective, we were looking at growing off the base that we had, putting more copper tonnes in a pipeline, a development pipeline, and trying to get to a stage where we could have multiple assets that we could look at developing and then taking to production. And so we see the sort of Mod transaction where we spent time but then agreeing on very friendly terms with both organisations, is being able to bring that in, folding it into Sandfire, and then having, and I suppose to some extent, what we were looking for. They didn't have what we had, and we didn't have what they had, which is a development pipeline. And somewhere in the order of 11,300 square kilometres of the Kalahari copper belt, it's a prolific and prospective region. Has one asset that potentially we're looking at taking to production in the very near term, and then great growth opportunities in that region. So we've integrated the company, it's gone very smoothly. All the key people within that organisation have rolled into Sandfire and are busy at the moment working hard to not only develop that project, but also to accelerate exploration in the region.
So what are your, say, development aspirations going forward?
Look, from a Sandfire perspective, we think there's a great opportunity off the back of the base that we've built in Australia, some very good mining practices, exploration practices, good teamwork, very good relationships with many of our stakeholders, our shareholders, our customers, our suppliers, our employees, and various relationships with governments in different jurisdictions. We have now obviously a base in Western Australia. We're about the 7th largest tenement holder in Australia. In Western Australia, we control somewhere in the order of 7,000 square kilometres of exploration ground. New South Wales and Queensland in Australia, we also have significant ground holdings. In the US, we have a 600,000 tonne copper resource in the Black Butte project in central Montana, which we own 85% of in our American or Canadian listed subsidiary, Sandfire Resources America, and then now Botswana, where we're controlling through 100% of this 11,700 square kilometres of ground. So from that perspective, looking at developing those two other assets and then using that as leverage to go and do other development opportunities. We'd like to see ourselves in the next 5 years being somewhere in the order of 150,000 tonne copper producer from these assets, and potentially other assets that we are being very inquisitive about looking at the moment. So we've got lots to do in the next 2 or 3 years.
Absolutely. So what's the key message you're trying to get across to investors here at One-to-One?
I think investors, from our perspective, we're in the business of value creation. So the key message for us is, we're very busy doing our work, looking at these assets and looking where we can develop them. For us, it's about creating value, which means a lot of things to a lot of people. It's not just commercial value. It is about jobs, it is about education, it's about improving the environments which we deploy our skill sets and do our work. So really at the end of the day, it's about creating value for many, many stakeholders. and we were excited, and we love being involved in value creation, and I think it's a whole bunch of things. So really from our point of view, it is about getting the message out, telling people what we're doing, to not overreact to something, but watch the space that we're in, watch what we are doing, and at the right time, maybe it's an investment for you. So it looks a wonderful environment here, a lot of interesting people, coming down, especially access to, the Northern Hemisphere, and certainly up into that Europe and UK and London area, which we've probably had limited exposure because we've been Australian-centric and a little bit of US-centric, but now with the significant African focus, I think it's to open up our message to that Northern European investor community.
And how have you found the one-to-one conference so far?
Fantastic, it's been really good. It's the first time that I've attended it. I think I came to the first Indaba conference in South Africa many years ago. I haven't been in Cape Town for probably 15 years, so back for the first time. The place is beautiful, fantastic climate, a real buzz about the space here at 121, so I think that in itself, and it's a great forum for people in a relaxed environment to have some really good networking conversations, and so far enjoyed it thoroughly on the first day.
Well, thank you very much. Great to speak to you.
My pleasure, Rosie. Thank you very much.